and welcome to South Asia Focus. I'm Avneet Arora. This week we look at Sri Lankan President Maithripala Sirisena's 4-day visit to India, in which a civil nuclear agreement between the two countries was signed among other developments. Here's a report. After emphatically trouncing Mahinda Rajapaksa in elections last month, President Sirisena embarked upon his maiden bilateral visit. He arrived in New Delhi on February 15th. He received a ceremonial welcome from Indian President Pranab Mukherjee at the Presidential Palace in New Delhi, the Rashtrapati Bhavan. Mr. Sirisena later met Prime Minister Narendra Modi and also held talks with India's Foreign Minister Sushma Swaraj, where the two leaders discussed bilateral and regional issues. In a significant move, India and Sri Lanka signed the civil nuclear deal in presence of Prime Minister Modi and President Sirisena. Mr. Modi, while speaking after the agreement, said that this India and Sri Lanka civil nuclear agreement was an indication of the level of mutual trust between the two neighbours.
The bilateral agreement on civil nuclear cooperation is yet another demonstration of our mutual trust. This is the first such agreement Sri Lanka has signed. It opens new avenues for cooperation, including in areas like agriculture and healthcare.
In the past, India and Sri Lanka have had talks on a possible civil nuclear agreement but had failed to reach any substantial consensus. According to the nuclear deal, India will share resources, train personnel, wide expertise and help out Sri Lanka in developing its civil nuclear energy network. It will also make easy India's cooperation in radioactive waste management and nuclear and radiological disaster mitigation and environmental protection. Activists in India, however, were not very happy with the decision. Tamil activist Thirumurugan Gandhi expressed reservations about the agreement, saying it would be environmentally harmful for Tamil Nadu.
Kind of not very comfortable with this kind of development with Sri Lankan government, because you should look at Sri Lanka not from a commercial point of view. Should see it the political point of view. The Sinhalese mindset is not with a pro-Indian mindset. And when you have such kind of a deal with them, and it's environmentally it is disastrous to the Tamil Nadu as well as the south region, and also you can't always trust the Sri Lankan government. They always want to use the geopolitical factors for its own benefits.
Meanwhile, the two countries also decided to work towards the controversial fishermen issue. Sri Lanka has long been seething over by what it alleges is poaching and illegal fishing by Indian fishermen. It says it depletes the catches of its own people. As a result, the arrests of Indian fishermen by Sri Lanka have angered India's nearby southern Tamil Nadu state, and this problem had become a major issue in the regional campaigning for the Indian general elections last year. Speaking on the crisis, Prime Minister Modi said that India considered the issue to be very important and there should be a civilized approach to the problem.
President and I attach the highest importance to the fishermen's issue. It affects livelihood on both sides. We agreed that there must be a constructive and humanitarian approach to the issue. We will encourage the Fishermen's Association on both sides to meet again soon.
Marking a major shift in his country's policy towards India, President Sirisena said he wanted better ties with India and called for better communication between the two neighbours.
තහවුරු වීම ශක්තිමත් වීම වගේම ජාතික වශයෙන් සංවර්ධනයට බලපාන්නා වූ කරුණුත් අන්තර්ජාතික වශයෙන් මිත්‍රත්වය වැඩි දියුණු කිරීම සහ අන්තර්ජාතික කටයුතු වලදී එකඟතාවයකින් කටයුතු කරමින් දීපාර්ශ්වික සම්බන්ධතා තුළ වඩාත් ශක්තිමත් ඉන්දියා ශ්‍රී ලංකා මිත්‍රත්වයක් තුළ අපේ කටයුතු කිරීමේ හැකියාව ඉතාමත්ම පැහැදිලිව තිබෙනවා. ඒ නිසා අපිට
India and Sri Lanka later signed many memorandums on agriculture, economic cooperation, cultural ties and connectivity. As Executive Director of the Centre for Global Governance and Policy, CGGP, Sriram Cholia writes, Sri Lankan industry bodies are clamouring for deeper economic ties with India beyond the current free trade agreement. The bilateral trade imbalance in India's favour reflects inadequate export capacity in Sri Lanka, a lacuna that Modi can help redress through accelerated investments in the island. The United States, on its part, has also expressed satisfaction on the civil nuclear deal between the two countries, stressing that it is in accordance with international standards, including the International Atomic Energy Agency safeguard norms. Confirming that the US agrees to the recent agreement signed between India and Sri Lanka on civil nuclear cooperation, State Department spokesperson Jen Psaki said, "We welcome regional cooperation on nuclear energy that is consistent with IAEA safeguards and other international standards and practices." Sirisena administration had earlier ordered a review of all Chinese infrastructure projects awarded under Mahinda Rajapaksa, a move which is expected to go down well with India and Western nations which were unnerved by China's ever-growing influence and military presence in the region. Rajapaksa's decision to allow 2 Chinese submarines to dock in Sri Lanka last year annoyed India, as the move violated an already existing agreement between the two countries. The new government even announced that the China-backed Colombo Port City project will be investigated by 2 committees after an initial assessment showed irregularities. Sri Lankan Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe told Parliament that all the activities of the port city deal were done without transparency and without following many legal procedures. China, however, has proposed a triangular partnership with India and Sri Lanka, this before a month-end visit to Beijing of the Sri Lankan Foreign Minister Mangala Samaravira. Commenting on the Sirisena's India visit, Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Hua Chunying said, "We are happy to see close and friendly development of India-Sri Lanka relations." She added, "We believe the sound relations among the 3 countries are conducive to the 3 countries and to the whole region." Sirisena has also pledged to grant autonomy to the island's former northern war zone, where members of the country's ethnic Tamil minority mainly live, part of an agreement with India that the Rajapaksa government did not abide by.
He is in Delhi to rebuild relations with India. There are many dimensions to it, of course. One dimension to it that we are most concerned about is the dimension of justice and rights. In the past, Sri Lankan society has been very divided. There have been deep fractures on communal lines, and there has been a number of strong, very credible allegations that, particularly at the end of that war in 2009, there were many violations of human rights, possibly war crimes that were committed. So one of the aspects that will be covered in the visit is how does one deal with this past, we are of the strong view that it can be dealt with in only one way, which is to have a credible, impartial investigation, on whose outcomes justice is served. You have to have action taken on the outcome of the investigation. First, a credible investigation, then action taken. Then justice will be served, on the basis of which reconciliation, progress, etc. can happen. India should not forget that without justice and accountability, there can be no real progress in Sri Lanka. That is the important thing today. In all fairness, there must be a credible, impartial investigation. Nobody today believes that a domestic investigation alone can deliver that. Nobody in the international community believes that. We should also remember that in the last 3 years, the pressure from the international community has been very, very severe on the Sri Lankan government to have an international investigation. A commission has been set up and so on and so forth. It is interesting to note that although Mr. President Sirisena is saying that he is in favor of a domestic investigation, but he has also said that he would talk to the Human Rights Commissioner. He's also, made some, statements that suggest some opening.
President Sirisena also visited Bodh Gaya, one of the holiest Buddhist sites in India, where Lord Buddha is believed to have attained enlightenment. He offered prayers to the idol of Lord Buddha at Mahabodhi temple in the holy town and prayed under the Bodhi tree, a sacred fig near the Mahabodhi temple, which is said to be a descendant of the one Buddha sat under for 3 days and nights in 6th century BC. President Sirisena choosing India as his first foreign destination after taking over as president is a clear indicator that he wants greater diplomatic, economic and political support from India for carrying out major policy changes. India also has responded positively to the regime change in the island nation. More on this new relationship in the coming episodes. Thank you for watching South Asia Focus.